What is going on, you guys? Today I'm going to be showing you a video of my 5 favorite classes, and I think the best class setups for these guns. Today I'm just going to be going off of kind of what I use, different situations, just in general, and different like game setups that I use these for. Let's just hop right into it. So this first class that I have is more of like a ground war type class for me personally. I use the M4A1. I do have the XRK M4 loadout specialty, but I don't use the same attachments that go with that gun. So I mean, you can level it up and use the same attachments that comes with, or you can just, you know. So the first attachment I use is actually the FSS Predator. This is not an easy one to get to. This takes a little while to get to, but if you have the attachment expansion, like I was saying, that you get, this is the first one that you can use. So I use this pretty frequently. It's good for sound suppression, aim down, sight speed. You do lose a little bit of bullet velocity, but it still does pretty good, and I think it's all right for like ground war if you're trying to, like, I don't know, kind of chill in a corner, or not necessarily a corner, but kind of not be detected as easily by an enemy. I definitely think that's a good way to go. Next I used the GI Mini Reflex, just because I like the aim of it, the sight of the gun, and how visible it is for enemies to be seen to me. That's just personal. You can use any scope you really want. Some do kind of, they mostly all lower your aim down, sight speed, so it really depends on what you're looking for. Next I use, on this class I use the Forge Tac CQS. It helps with your aim down, sight speed. I'm just kind of looking for like fast engagements, quick ready speed when you're shooting. That's really all I'm looking for, but you know, it kind of depends on what your game is, like what you're running. This is just kind of my ground war class, like I said. Next I use the stippled grip tape because aim down, sight speed is faster, and your sprint to fire speed is faster. You don't really, I mean, aiming stability is a huge thing, but I don't really think it's a huge difference because you can still control it pretty well, and it's not very jumpy, which I like. Next thing I use is the Ranger undergrip, just kind of to even out the aiming stability and recoil control. Just personally, because sometimes I do notice that in my game, it might be my sensitivity, but I do feel kind of everywhere with the gun every once in a while. So I just use this to kind of have a better grip on my aiming and everything like that. So it just really depends. And then for my secondary, I do use overkill on this class because obviously it's ground war. You know, you're either going to be using a ton of mid-range with the AR, or you're going to be up close with the shotgun. And obviously the 725 is kind of nuts, so that's why I use that. So the barrel I use is the Tempest. That is good for damage range and a little bit of a tighter spread. It does kind of lower your aim down, sight speed, and movement speed, but I mean, with aim down, sight speed for this shotgun in specific, you don't really need it that bad. So next stock I use is actually the Cronin Pro Light. This is just kind of to help your aim walk movement speed, just in case you are aiming. This way you can just move a little bit faster while you're aiming around a corner or something like that. It does get rid of your aiming stability, but it's, like I said, it's a shotgun. It's not like you're going to be spraying 40 bullets. You're just 1-2. So I do like that as my stock. It does help just a little bit. Next, I use sleight of hand with this gun just because it is the 2 bullets. It's the double barrel shotgun. This makes it a lot faster to aim and shoot. That's the only reason I like it for sleight of hand. I mean, you can use fully loaded just to make sure you have enough ammo. Fast melee, if you're running in with it, you can melee and shoot. It really depends on what your tactic is, but mine is just to be able to reload faster and get that gun off. Next, I use the Forge Tac Steady Grip. This does help with your aim down sight speed and sprint to fire speed. This way, if you're running around with the shotgun, you can just shoot as fast as you can after you're done running. I do notice that every once in a while it does take an extra second to shoot, which I think is just in general from they have a higher sprint to fire speed, which sometimes makes sense, sometimes it doesn't, especially not with a shotgun for me. I don't think that it helps, but I think this is probably the best grip that I like to use on it. Next is the Merc foregrip. I just like the recoil control and the aim down sight speed. With the shotgun, obviously you are going to have a little bit of jump with it with the 2 shots, so I just use the grip to make sure that it's pretty stable, and then I can aim down sight if I want to, quick scope with a shotgun. But the only negative is the movement speed, but it is still pretty fast. It's not like you're going to drop down to where you can't run or anything like that. So that's just kind of why I use that grip. For perks, I use Overkill just so I can have the shotgun with it. I use Ghost because UAVs are probably the quickest kill streak. Just kind of so people don't really know where you're at. Heartbeat sensors, radar drones, and snapshot grenades. So it just kind of helps like I said, with just ground war. And then trackers, kind of useful. You can use shrapnel if you want an extra grenade. These perks are just kind of to your own base of what you like to play as and how you like to play. But tracker, I like to just kind of see like if somebody ran through that door recently, if I can track them pretty quickly, or however, it really depends. I use Semtex and flash grenade for this one just because the flash grenade, they can't see, so they just start sprinting. I've noticed a lot of the time they just run. So I just kind of use that to my advantage when I can. So the next class that I have is another M4, but this is more of like a TDM and kill confirmed class for me. I use the monolithic suppressor, which is good for sound suppression, but it's good for damage range as well. You do lose aim down sight speed and aim walking steadiness, but it doesn't really matter. I usually use this for like mid to farther range encounters, which I think is good for the damage range. Then I use the stock M16 Grenadier. This is good for damage range, bullet velocity, and recoil control. I do notice that I hit a lot more of my shots in TDM and stuff like that with this barrel, but it just really depends on what you're using and what you're used to if you like the ARs. You do lose aim down sight speed again and a little bit of movement speed, but it's not, you're still pretty fast. It's the AR, you're not very slow with this one, which I like, and it's really not terrible, I don't think. Next thing I do use is the Singard Arms Invader. This one's good for aim, walking, movement speed, so it does help with your mobility just a little bit. And then aiming stability, you've already kind of got the recoil control and everything like that with the barrel, so I just use this instead, and I like it just because you're a little bit faster. Next, I do use sleight of hand just because you reload faster, and since you're not using an extended barrel or extended mag or anything like that, it just kind of makes sure that you're not running out of ammo and having to take forever to reload. So that's just kind of why I use that. You can use, like I said, anything you need. Next thing I do use is the stippled grip tape. That's the best for aim down sight speed and sprint to fire speed again. And you do lose the aiming stability. So I just kind of use that because I think it's pretty helpful for the aim down sight speed since you lost a little bit earlier. And then, like I said, in a TDM or a kill confirmed or whatever type of game mode you're running it for, I think that the sprint to fire speed is nice because you can turn corners and aim pretty fast. It just helps in my opinion. I like to switch up the secondary. This one I do use the Deagle just because I'm trying to level it up right now. Those perks don't really matter, or the attachments I don't really care for right now. I like to use EOD because a lot of people are using, claymores, proximity mines, and you can hack them. So it makes it a lot easier, I think, in my mind, seeing something like that because I see them. It's just so hard to fight against them. Next perk I use is Kill Chain just because your kill streaks count towards your next kill streak, which is nice. If you're using like a highly kill streak kill where it just moves on to the next one, The next thing I do use is Battle Hardened, which is good for flash stuns and EMPs. Like I said, it's a TDM, so everybody's dying and reusing them and dying and reusing them. So I just kind of go with that one for this class. And then I use Thermite and a stun grenade. The Thermite's kind of nice because people like to post up in one room, and I just go from there. And then there's the stun grenade, which makes people really, really slow. So if I hit them with that stun grenade and then a Thermite right after, they're just kind of stuck in it, and it's a lot easier to use that way, I think. Next class I like to use, this was actually my first gun that I like to use, was the Kilo. I like the abilities of it, so I use the Singard Arms 19.8 inch Prowler. This one's good for bullet range, bullet velocity, and recoil control. You do lose a little bit of aim down sight speed and movement speed, but it's not a huge difference, I don't think. I don't notice it, I mean, but it does help with that damage range, kind of like another domination or TDM playlist. I think this is good for. Next, I like this actual sight on this one. I don't like the iron sights as much. I can use them, but definitely think just a standard like mini reflex or something like that is good on this one, because it's good for close engagements, medium range engagements, and you can still have a clear picture. You do lose a little bit of aim down sight speed, but that's not bad. And then this one I use the Forge Tac Ultralight. This just kind of makes it, lighter and easier to move. So I like it personally because I think it's a little bit better, but you could also use the no stock because you do gain aim down sight speed. But personally, I don't like the no stock, so I just use the Ultralight. Next, again, I use sleight of hand just because there's not a whole bunch of rounds because you're not using an extended clip, but that really depends on what you're looking for. And then the next is the Commando foregrip, just because of recoil stabilization and aiming stability. I do notice the same with this one. It is a little bit jumpy, so I just kind of use this one just because you don't lose any aim down sight speed or anything like that. You just lose a little bit of movement speed, but that's about it. Then this one I'm using the X16. I think I'm using the hair trigger on this one. I kind of like this because I like to get in the close range engagements with the pistol and just go from there. But it's really how your preference is on this secondary, if you want a launcher or anything like that. Again, I use the EOD, Kill Chain, and Battle Hardened on this class, Thermite, and Stun Grenade. So it just kind of is your preference on those, again. And then you go from there, really. Next class I have is my P90 class. P90 class, it's actually a sub. I'm using it. I actually got this idea from somebody else, but I'm using this as like a very quick, like run in and shoot and get multiple kills very fast. So I'm using a bunch of attachments to increase, aim down sight speed and fire speed and everything like that. So first of all, I'm using the FSS 10.6 inch. Which I think is good because you use good damage range and bullet velocity on this one. You do lose a little bit of aim down sight speed on this one, but the damage range and the bullet velocity is going to help a lot, just to make sure that you're getting that extra damage in there from the P90, which I feel is a little weak, but that it really depends. Then next is the Tac Laser. I got this idea from him as well because it helps with your aim down sight speed and walking steadiness. But obviously, laser is visible to enemies. You can do kind of any of these, but this one you have a good sprint to fire speed. I like this one personally just because it's while it's active, and this one's all the time. So next is the Fly Strap. This just kind of helps with sprint to fire speed and aim walking movement speed. That's just, like I said, just to get in, run, shoot fast, and get kills quickly. The stability isn't necessarily necessary, just because you're going to be running in and spraying a lot. So that's just my personal belief on that one. Then you've got sleight of hand, like I've described already, and then the stifled grip tape, which is good for aim down sight speed and sprint to fire speed. So like I said, it's just kind of a fast run in and shoot. Then I got the Deagle on this one just because it's heavy duty. It's a quick fire or quick swap in one shot. And then I got EOD, Kill Chain, and Tracker on this. And then throwing knife, I kind of changed that up. Mostly I'll be using like a Simtex or just a regular frag on this one, and then I have stims on this one as well. So my last class that I like to use is actually a sniper class. Anybody that knows me knows I love snipers. No matter what game mode it is, you can use it in search and TDM. You can use it in ground war. This is just kind of my favorite sniper. So and it's strong, which is nice. So I use the 32-inch factory barrel, which increases damage range, bullet velocity, and recoil control. So it's kind of I like it kind of for quick scoping just because it's a little bit stronger. I do notice when I try to quick scope with it, I always feel like I get hit markers. So just the damage range and bullet velocity kind of helps, I think, with that aspect of like quick scoping. You obviously do lose aim down sight speed, but it's not terrible, and a little bit of movement speed. But it's the sniper. You're not going to want to be sprinting around the whole time. So I just think that that's what's best for me personally. Next, I do use the tac laser just because it helps with aim down sight speed, aiming stability, and aim walking steadiness. Just because like you can no scope with it. The laser is kind of fun to use, I think. The laser is visible to enemies, but in this game, I mean, people are camping in corners. It really doesn't matter. They're going to see you come in no matter what. So I don't really care for that. So the laser isn't a huge deal. I use the Singard Arms Assassin just because it does have the aim down sight speed. So I use it for like faster aiming, which I'm already doing, quick scoping with and stuff like that. So like I said, just the faster it is, a little bit easier it is to quick scope, I think. Next I use sleight of hand because it's only, I believe, a 5-round mag. And sometimes you can get out of that pretty quickly. So I like the sleight of hand just to reload faster. Next is a staple grip tape. Like I said, aim down sight speed and sprint to fire speed. If you're running around trying to quick scope, I think this is the best grip to have. That's just my personal opinion. You may use like the aim walking steadiness if you're trying to walk and aim and stuff like that. Or this one's good for recoil control if you're doing long distance, I think. But this is just my opinion on the quick scoping side of it. So then I use the combat knife just because I think, you're a little bit faster with it. You can always use that to run around corners and then switch to the sniper and try to quick scope people. I just think it's good for speed if you're trying to use that. With this, I do use cold-blooded because I know a lot of people use like thermals or some people use sentry guns and stuff like that. That way you just kind of, they don't see you as easily, so I just use that. Another one you could use is double time if you're trying to increase your speed, like I was saying, but I just use cold-blooded on this one. And then same with ghost and shrapnel, and since I'm using a throwing knife, you can just kind of use that, which is nice to, get kills with and everything like that. So, yeah. All right, guys, thanks for watching. That's the end of the video. I'm going to be putting my link in the description for my Twitch. Make sure to go follow me. I'm going to be streaming a lot more at night and putting a lot more YouTube videos out. If you have any questions, if you like any other classes that you want to see or think that I could make a video on, go ahead and leave it in the comments. I do really appreciate it. Also, make sure to go follow me on Twitter at rbl_coda. I always tweet out when I'm going live, when I'm putting up a video, so make sure you're staying up to date with that. I really appreciate you guys watching the video. Thanks for stopping by, and if you could hit that like button and subscribe here on YouTube as well. I will catch you in that next video. Peace.